They tricked me. Migrants were promised $1,000 to voluntarily leave the United States, but some never received it. This is according to The Guardian. Pedro Mena, right here on the left, and Shanna Lobando both agreed to voluntarily depart under Project Homecoming, but never received the promised $1,000 payment. So, German Pineda, 32, just wanted to go home after his arrest by U.S. Customs Enforcement in June. Pineda, a Honduran immigrant, spent 4 miserable days in the immigration detention at Federal Plaza in Manhattan, sleeping on a concrete floor without sufficient food or a shower. Next, he was transferred to a detention center in Brooklyn, where staff treated him like a criminal. He says he lived in the country working as a delivery driver for 14 years. He couldn't even call home. A month later, ICE officials presented him with a voluntarily departure papers. He says they told him that he'd be flown free of charge to Honduras and ICE would pay him $1,000 plus he'll be able to come back to the United States legally at a later date. Pineda says that they told him that if he refused, he will be held months longer and he will end up deported anyway. Desperate for relief, he signed the form on 25th of July. I thought I'll be able to start over in my country, he said, through an interpreter. He'd be able to use the meager payoff to start a small business once he got back to Honduras. But Pineda sat in detention for 2 more months. His long detention increase is increasingly typical for those arrested by Customs and Border Protection. By August, the CBP were detaining adults on average of 109 days, over twice as long as the average detention of last October. Documents revealed by the Lens and the Guardian showed that $1,000 payments had been sent by wire to some immigrants who left the country voluntarily, but sometimes the money came and went while the immigrants were still being held in the detention center in the U.S. Other payment information was given to the wrong person. Some immigrants were told to expect the 1,000 when they arrived home, though in fact they were never eligible. I don't know what that means. In Honduras, Pineda's wire transfer went uncollected for more than 30 days. By that time he arrived in Honduras and tried to show his ID and collect the money, it had been returned to the financial services company handling the self-deportation payments. They deceived me, said Pineda, frustrated. He was doubtful that anyone was receiving the promised Homeland Security payments. It was a lie, Pineda said. He had spoken with 10 friends from Honduras, Colombia, El Salvador, and Peru. All say that they have signed the same paperwork and ended up with nothing. So basically, they're saying that the U.S. promised them $1,000, but all 10 of his friends that end up come from Honduras, Colombia, and Salvador and Peru said they all signed the same paperwork and they all ended up with nothing. Of almost a dozen immigration lawyers and migrants interviewed for the story, initially no one knew who had actually received the $1,000. No one knew who received the $1,000. Two people later received it as a result of this reporting. Though the cases in the story represent a fraction of the people who took voluntary departure, they raise questions about the new, little understood U.S. program. Wow, that's crazy. Guided by a Trump presidential proclamation, the Department of Homeland Security established the Project Homecoming in May. The American people are generously offering illegal aliens $1,000 and a free flight to self deport now. A DHS press release announced to pay for the flights and exit bonuses. The State Department repurposed $250 million intended to help resettle refugees. It's unclear how much of that $250 million has been spent and to whom. Not a penny made it to Robin Meneses, 54, a migrant from Nicaragua who carries a photo on his phone of his signed voluntarily departure form. It's entitled salida voluntaria, and this text describes the terms of the deal, including the $1,000 exit bonus. Meneses was deported to Nicaragua, but the money never came, he said. Wow, like Pineda, he felt duped. They tricked me into leaving, Meneses said in Spanish. They tricked me into leaving. That's what he said in Spanish. Though Meneses says ICE officers approached him with the $1,000 offer while he was in detention, he ultimately wasn't registered for the exit bonus because he had a final order for removal dating back to 2022. Often people are legally allowed to remain in the country after final orders if enforcement is delayed or if they are placed under supervision. The DHS website for Project Homecoming explicitly says that a final order of removal pre does not preclude eligibility like the website. DHS posters and flyers also seem to imply any non-criminal migrant can qualify for the payment and legal return. It's only for non-criminals and people that never had a removal order before. That's who applies. That part's the most frustrating, said Jennifer Whitlock, senior policy counsel with the National Immigration Law Center. Some people think that this is a way to get right with the law, and nothing could be further from the truth. Whitlock emphasizes those who agree to incentivize voluntary departure while already detained are the highest risk of letdown. Those are the people that I'm routinely hearing from immigration attorneys. Hey, my guy never got the $1,000. The problems go far beyond the unpaid $1,000. Migrants who use an app called CBP Home to apply for voluntary departure provide their information, locations to the federal government, whether or not they qualify for the incentive program, and despite the promises, Project Homecoming does not ease the pathway for future legal returns. Pineda now faces a 5-year ban on returning to the United States unless he is granted a difficult to obtain waiver. Others face lifetime bans. Pineda's lawyer, Yasmin Badi, an immigration public defender with the Bronx Defenders in New York, NYC, asked dozens of her colleagues about the DHS promised exit bonus. No one knew of a client who had been paid the $1,000. ICE referred requests for comment to CBP. Neither CBP nor the DHS responded to requests for comment. Lots of publicity, little information. Wow. That's all I got for you guys today. Hit me with that follow button. Hit me with that follow button.